Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here another video. This time I decided to make a video on a subject that I'm not really an expert about. This is a video for the new He-Man Revelations, like Netflix series they got going on or whatever. I think it's maybe got like half the first season finished or almost the whole first season. Now I'll just go ahead and say it, I'm not a huge He-Man fan. I know very little about the original show from the 80s or whatever. But I know it has a big following. I know a lot of people like it. I know they did a film with Dolph Lundgren that's supposed to be considered pretty bad, but honestly, I think I would probably like it because I've never actually seen it, even though I like Dolph Lundgren. If you follow my channel, I'm a big fan of like B movies and B movie action actors and just action movies and stuff like that, and horror flicks and stuff, and comic book movies and stuff like that, and really geek culture type stuff. But I just never got around to watching He-Man. I mean, I just didn't. Um, but I would probably like the Masters of the Universe He-Man movie with Dolph Lundgren because I have no expectations for it, to be honest. With that said, I did do some research on this topic and watched some videos about it and watched a little bit of the cartoon, some clips from it and stuff like that to get a basic idea and more of an understanding about this whole subject, the whole situation going on here. And there's been a lot of videos about this already, and I didn't plan on making a video about it because I don't really know anything about He-Man. I'm not like a super fan. But I saw how much it was just kind of blowing up online, and for some reason I just kind of felt the urge just to do a video about it, just to kind of throw my 2 cents out there. And pretty much this, if you've been keeping up with like anything in the geek culture spectrum or just online or whatever, then you know about the huge controversy about Kevin Smith, how he said he wasn't a He-Man fan like years ago, and then lied now and said that he is a He-Man fan or something like that, or said that later. And he got called out on that, and he tried to like sidestep it by saying a bunch of stuff like, no, like executives at Netflix don't care about that, they just care about the show quality. It's like, no, that wasn't what it was really about. People were just trying to point out the fact that you lied about liking the show, and you also lied about the fact the show was going to be about He-Man. Now, Kevin Smith, I don't hate Kevin Smith. I don't know Kevin Smith. I have nothing personal against the man. I don't know him. I like most of his films, really, like his comedies. He's a guy who does movies about dick and fart jokes, and that's what he's good at. There's no shame in that. Hell, if you can make money off of it, do it. That's what he's good at. Everything else he's done, I really don't like it. Like Walrus movie with Justin Long he did, Red State, and Yoga Hoosers or whatever about the killer bratwurst sausages or something. I don't really like any of those. But yeah, his dick and fart joke comedies, I do enjoy. I still like him today, and I like Jay and Silent Bob reboot for that reason. But everything else he's done, not a fan. He's just not been very good at anything else stepping outside that spectrum. But now we get into this. Why you would hire the dude whose masterpiece films are dick and fart jokes to an updated version of a classic cartoon, I have no idea, especially one with a huge fan base. But you hire him to do this show, and the show is supposed to be about He-Man, right? Prince Adam, I think is the guy's name, who lives in Eternia or something like that. And Skeletor is the villain. I know Skeletor. I think everybody knows Skeletor, whether they know the show or not. And pretty much he holds He-Man like holds the sword of whatever Prince Adam does and goes, I have the power of Grayskull or whatever. Transforms into He-Man, this big buff dude with long hair. But yeah, so he has like a sidekick named Teela, I think. And the whole controversy about the show is the fact that Kevin Smith made it to where He-Man dies in the first episode. And I believe Skeletor does too, but I think they come back in like one later episode, like way later, for just a little bit more. And I think they die again, from what I've heard. And then the whole show is pretty much about Teela, who they put in the fact that hint at the fact that she's like got a lesbian love relationship with this black chick that's introduced in there or something like that. Now, I'm just gonna say this. Look, I've mentioned this before in other videos. All movies, TV shows, all media, art is all made with some type of agenda for the creator to get across in his art. It is. What the problem is nowadays, though, is the majority of a lot of stuff that's made only focuses on the agenda, and they just don't care about anything else. And they just sacrifice the acting, the writing, and everything else to only focus on the agenda and hyping it up. That's the problem. And that's been a huge weakness for a lot of movies lately, of popular franchises. And they put it in these popular, more established franchises because they know people are going to take notice of them more. and they go out of their way to force it in there, and that's the problem, like I mentioned. And that's right off the bat, that's a bad problem because the people who demand like that type of stuff be like overstuffed in movies and entertainment, like to the point where it's like beating you in the face with it. Those types of people are like less than 1% of the population. That's like a handful of people on Twitter who just talks about that constantly. That's it. Like if you go out in the real world and look at like regular people, they don't care about that stuff. They just want an entertaining, well done movie with well done characters, whether they be male or female. They made films with great female characters for decades before now that people were huge fans of. Could movies like be more diverse and have more roles for other minorities and things like that, and people like that or whatever, whether they be male or female? Yes, they could. There's lots of movies that could have benefited from having a lead actor of a different race instead of just being the token white guy to try to appeal to mass audiences. Movies are guilty of doing that, just casting actors because they're popular or just because they're white. Sometimes you have to do that because it's a business and the guy just happens to be white, but other times you really don't because audiences are not as dumb as studios think they are. They'll turn out for a movie as long as they find it somewhat entertaining and it appeals to them. Certain franchises, though, like Blade Runner and stuff like that, regardless of how good the movies are, like audiences just won't show up just because that particular brand just plays, and style just plays more to a more niche audience. So giving them a higher budget or a big budget is usually a mistake, and that's why Dune's going to flop hard. Um, the new Dune movie. But yeah, most of the time, if a movie's good, people will show up. Like Terminator 1 and 2, Arnold, yeah, is a superstar in those movies, but the main character is still pretty much Sarah Connor. And men and women love that character in those two movies. You know, there's no problem with it. Same thing with Aliens. No one cares that it's a woman. And there's lots of other ones, lots of female like action stars that nobody has a problem with whatsoever. Um, it's only becomes a problem for people when that feels like that's all the content is created for and to be. It's just there to be for the agenda. It just makes people feel like you're trying to preach to them instead of like providing them with some type of entertainment that's well done. That's what it is. That's what aggravates people. Now, Geeks and Gamers has made multiple videos on this type of stuff, and I don't always like agree with Geeks and Gamers. They are a little bit too biased in certain ways and stuff, and they said some stupid stuff about Snyder when they got mad at Zack Snyder or whatever about him not like wanting to be linked with Geeks and Gamers or whatever, even though it made sense because they are controversial and he has to look out for his own brand and himself and his relationship with the studio, at least at the time. Now him and Warner Brothers hate each other. They don't really want anything to do with each other. But at the time, he has to look out for himself. So that made sense, and Geeks and Gamers logo was not supposed to be on the official Warner Brothers merchandise or whatever on the website. It wasn't supposed to be there. I'm sorry they agreed to it. It wasn't. So they're not perfect. They've made mistakes. But they are right about this Masters of the Universe thing with Kevin Smith. I watched some of their videos on it. They are correct. Kevin Smith, he has sold out to like mainstream Hollywood. He's trying to make money off his name, just like having the name Kevin Smith on there, because a lot of like people who are fans of geek culture grew up. A lot of them did on those kinds of like Kevin Smith, dick and fart joke comedies, like I did, and they see him as like one of the boys. So when they see his name on the He-Man thing, they're like that. They're more, wanting to check in on it and see what it's like. Now, Kevin Smith has said that Netflix does not care about all the bad reviews and bad reactions because they still have plenty of people that are going to watch the show regardless, and they have so many subscribers on Netflix, it doesn't matter. And that's true. He's right. It doesn't matter to them. They have so many subscribers. It makes no difference if this show's a terrible show that gets the worst ratings imaginable, because as long as people watch it just out of pure curiosity or just hate watch it, they're still getting views. They're still getting subs. It makes no difference. Which I don't know why people do that, because you can just watch the show online for free. There's plenty of movies that I have little interest in. I just download and watch for free. I mean, I don't really get why people go out of the way to subscribe or pay for a streaming platform thing like that just for one or two specific shows and they can just watch it online for free. I guess to support certain content creators, which that's respectable. But yeah, so the big problem people have with this is, yeah, He-Man just gets killed off. And Kevin Smith has said, yeah, He-Man's like going to be back here. They have no idea where the show's going. Well, that may be true. I mean, He-Man might come back. I don't know. He may come back in a later, like maybe season 2 or something or whatever, and be there for the whole rest of the show. But that doesn't make any difference because you have to focus on the here and now. And right now, nobody wants to watch a He-Man show without He-Man. the show's called Masters of the Universe, but He-Man has always been the star. So the fact that they kill He-Man off and just get rid of him and focus it on this other character who's a side character, it makes no sense. It's just there for some kind of agenda thing, and I don't understand why they thought that people would pay any attention to the show or like the show for that factor, or that would appeal to anybody. Like, I don't see SJWs running out to watch He-Man. I just don't. I guess they figured something like this makes me feel like Netflix just didn't really have much confidence in the property, and they probably had this done on purpose, just deliberately, so they could get people to talk about the show, whether it be in a positive or negative light, just so they could get attention to it, so people would tune in more. I really think that might be what happened here, because they had to know this was going to be a disaster of an idea. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to kill off the main character of a show. And plus, when you kill off the main character in the first episode, you have raised this bar like so high. How are you ever going to top that, assuming the show gets to keep continuing? What do you do from there? How do you go from there? Even if like He-Man comes back and you kill him off like 2 or 3 more times, eventually, like maybe 1 or 2 seasons down the road, it's just going to be like, okay, whatever. The impact's going to be gone. It's not going to work as well. So right off the bat, you've set yourself up for a huge hurdle right there. But yeah, and I've heard, and Kevin Smith, I watched an interview with him. He said he's talking about like real fans didn't want this, and he said, well, he's putting up that kind of thing where somebody's like, well, what's a real fan? You know, everybody's a real fan. Maybe there is like a group of fans that wanted this. Yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody who's a fan of something is a real fan. I mean, I've never liked the term like real fan or whatever. Like everybody's a fan. That is true. But, however, that doesn't excuse something being bad in terms of writing. There probably is a small section of the fan base that wanted He-Man to just be about the side Teela character. There probably is. But there's a reason that that's a very small section of that fan base. Because the majority of fans of a show want the main character to be the main character. That's true for every show, regardless of what it is. They want the main character there, the most popular one. Okay, they don't want the side character. That's the majority of people. Like, you could have just made a Teela show. The fact that you put her front and center in Masters of the Universe shows that you don't think she's good enough or popular enough as a character to carry an entire series just by herself in her own show. So, yeah, that's not a good look either right there. Because I think she could have easily carried her own show from what I've seen. Her own spinoff miniseries or whatever. But yeah. So, just because, like, a small, like, little tiny pissant section of fans, like, way over here, may have wanted that, like, a less than 1% of the fan base, I'm sure, may have wanted that, doesn't mean you do it. I'm sure there's some sections of the fan base that want He-Man to just, like, march in, like, a gay pride parade, but that doesn't mean that you should do that on the show. Okay? I mean, and that's not to say I have to point this out, of course. That was a joke. I don't have anything against gay people or whatever, and I'm completely supportive of gay people, lesbian people, whatever. I have no problem with people's sexuality. I do not care. I don't care about politics either. Whether you was a Trump supporter or whatever when he was in office or whatever, I don't care. Politics mean nothing to me. I'm not political whatsoever, and I have when I look at it and I see a person who's gay, to me it's just a person. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I don't identify people by their sexuality. That is just humor because I make edgy humor in a lot of my videos. So if that bothers you, these videos are probably not for you, the ones that I make. But yeah, and that's fine. You know, everybody has their own personal taste. And I'm sure there are going to be some people that do genuinely like this show, and that's fine. But there's always going to be a fan of anything that's made. And there's always going to be haters who hate something that's made. But when probably over 99% of the fan base hates what you've done with their favorite franchise or one of their favorite franchises, chances are you've probably screwed up. You should probably listen when it's that big of a majority. So, yeah, from my honest opinion, I'm not even a big He-Man fan. Like I've said before, I don't know a lot about He-Man, but killing off the main hero of the franchise, the main character, like, that might have worked if you would have done that in, like, Season 2 or something like that. It's like this big shock, you know, like, people didn't see it coming, like an epic final or something. And then you had Teela, like, take over for a little bit until He-Man came back. That honestly could have been an interesting curveball for a show. But the way you've done it in this series, just by taking him out in like the first episode, maybe bringing him back and killing him again, I'm sorry, that is retarded. That is, even if you want to just take out all the supposed agenda stuff, take it all out of there, all of it. It's just bad writing. It's just bad. So yeah, Kevin Smith, you lied about being a fan of the show. You don't care about the show, and I think that's what it was. He has no love for He-Man. He just signed up to this because so he probably had no idea how big the fandom was. It's probably just like, quick paycheck. Nobody's going to care what I do with this. And little did he know, he got surprised, which I understand because there's always a fan base for everything, and they want it to be respected. And he didn't respect it, and that's his mistake, and he's going to have to live with that, and he deserves to. And I don't blame him for like trying to just make money off a show. I mean, if I had the opportunity and I needed the money, I probably would too, to be honest. But he should have known better because he doesn't need the money. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.